Well, hello and welcome to my show called Positively Positive. Now, you might ask why it's called Positively Positive. Well, this show is in three layers, let's say. The first layer is it's called Positively Positive because I have to take these glasses off to be serious. I can't help it. It's called Positively Positive because 20 years ago, I had a real vision about having a talk show, an interview show where people all involved with HIV, whether they were directly, indirectly involved, would tell their story. It's not a talk show, it's a storytelling show. And it had to be like whether you were a long term survivor of HIV, but every show had to have the same component, which would have been something involving HIV. And that's where Positively Positive came into being. And it could be, as I said, you're a long-term survivor, newly diagnosed, caregiver, a healthcare worker. There's so many ways that you could do this. But in general, it just is that we want your story. I wanted to hear your story that would be so powerful that people would be riveted. They would want to hear more and more. And that's what's been happening. And I was on Richardo Jackson from Campbell Health Solutions. I was on his podcast a couple of times. And I told him about this, passion I had to talk about HIV. And I said I wanted this talk show called Positively Positive, where I interview one-on-one people involved with some aspect of HIV. He said, let's do it. So because of him and two people, both of us were so passionate about HIV, him for his reasons, me for my reasons, which I'll get into now, it came together. And it was just the time because there is no one else in the country doing anything close to it. There's nobody who has a show where they're talking about that. And Richardo was doing it regularly about HIV testing in his own podcast. So two people of passion came together and the show is called Positively Positive. And if you want to be on it, we want to hear your story. The second part of the show has to do with me. I don't take much time, but I do want to say that HIV is extremely personal because I lost my husband, my best friend, the love of my life, on August 17th, 1994, to AIDS-related pneumonia. And he was bisexual, and I loved him as a best friend, and I loved him as my husband for 25 years. I've been a widow 30. My passion still remains staying focused totally on HIV. Wherever the journey takes me, HIV is my ministry, my mission, and my purpose. I documented his illness in my book called Committed to Love, A Woman's Journey Through Love and Loss. And then the sequel was called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. And the reason I documented his illness is because when he was in the hospital with the first bout of pneumonia, June 19th, 1992, there was nothing I could do except write. And I knew I was a writer, but I took a little piece of paper and I started writing everything. And I documented every day till he passed. And then years later, transposed it into a book. Years later, published the book. And then the other companion book. Both books are available on Barnes & Noble. Amazon's the best by far. Both books are equally incredibly passionate with stories. I'm a storyteller. I'm not somebody that makes up stuff. I like to talk about real life. My life was real, A Woman's Journey Through Love and Loss, Committed to Love by Susan Mintz. Website, susanmintz.com, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, of which I do not know how to use most of the time, but you can find me. So that is my intro to Positively Positive, myself, and the next one you are going to hear from is our incredible guest. This woman is incredible, her story amazing, and we are going to get introduced to Miss Tina Krug. Hello, Miss Tina. I can't hear you.
Oh, is my mute? My
Yeah,
mic is
just speak up louder. There you
okay.
go. I have it.
Can you hear?
I have
Okay,
it.
because it's probably. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Miss Tina Krug. I've been waiting to talk to you for a long time. I feel like I've known you. And what I want to do though is I want to spend the time we have. I want to know where you're from, how you found the show, what you do, what you are, where you go, the org. I want to hear your story. Every once in a while, I'll just interrupt to say, or I'll raise my hand and say, I want to just back up because I really want everything in detail, but I want to get the real nuggets. So, in case time should run out, which I don't think it will, I'm very detailed when it comes to these stories. And yours is extremely important. And so, I want you to start by just saying where you're from and how you found us, and tell us about yourself and HIV, involvement with HIV. And you're only talking to a few million people. God, hope so.
Anyway, I'm gonna start off a little bit about myself. My name is Tina Renee. I am from Columbus, Ohio. I was born in Columbus, Ohio in 1963. My mother's name was Marjorie Henderson, but then she was Wooten, and she named me Tina Renee. Um, from Columbus, Ohio, I have now 2 children and 6 grandchildren.
All right, that's an accomplishment.
Right, huh? And so
Where, where are you living now? But where are you
I
living
live.
now?
I'm now raised. I live in Tucson, Arizona, right now.
Okay,
That's where I
that's what I want to
reside
know.
at.
Yeah,
It's
and then
Tucson,
where? How
Arizona.
did you find the show? How did you find me? Just quickly, just tell that story.
Facebook, strolling through Facebook, and I see your story, and actually I seen your face, and I said, you had a story, and so I said, well, let me start reading your story, and so I read your story, and I was like, wow, and then I went onto your Facebook thing, and it had where, okay, if you want to be part of the show, so that, and I said, okay, me, so that's how I found you, and we
And your
connected.
energy. And your energy came through, Miss Tina from Tucson, Arizona. The other thing is now I want to get into the part of that. How did you get involved with HIV specifically?
Um, Actually, how I got involved is one of my stories I tell, on my panel as well, is in 1983, when the epidemic and the pandemic, when all this came out and they didn't know what it was, I was a caregiver at the time. And I seen how they, treated them, and, it was pretty bad. And after that, to go forward a little bit, and then 19 years later, it became me too. And that's where, I really came involved in the community, um, because of the stigma and everything that it holds. But to tell you a little bit about me, to back up how I got to where I am now.
Are you
Actually,
HIV positive or you're not? You
yes,
are HIV
yes,
positive?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yes, I
Okay.
am. And
Now,
and then
now, now
I'll just give you just a little bit, just a little bit. Um, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and then I came to Tucson because I had to change people, places, and things for living on the street for 10 years. I was addicted. My drug of choice, crack cocaine.
wow.
And then when I came here,
You're an
I decided,
addict.
I'm a, I'm gonna
You
clean
you were
myself up.
addicted. What were you
Crack
addicted
cocaine,
to?
crack.
Oh, that's well, you did good with that then, that's for sure. You went out all out on that one. Okay. Crack cocaine. Okay.
Yeah, that's what my addiction was. And I decided to come to Tucson, Arizona, because I needed to change people, places, and things and get myself together. And 2010, that's when I arrived here in February, day before my birthday, which would be the 24th. I actually went to the clinic, and around about 3 months later, I had a tummy ache. And when I went to see him, he was like, well, trying to make me feel okay about what he was getting ready to tell me. And it was just way off. Um, and so he sent me to a real clinic, which they, help those people that acquired the HIV/AIDS virus or now living with. Uh, when I went there in 2010, it's around about September, she told me the same thing. But it took me back to a state where they say that we're depressed and, because of mine, I didn't know who I was going to tell, who I was going to talk to about this. It came a hush hush type of thing. So it
Do
took
you
me back
know
to what
who?
I was. Go ahead.
Do you know who you got it, contracted it from?
I can't really tell you because by me living on the streets and only thing I can say that I
Mm.
was not a heroin addict. I was not a prostitute. I was dating a
It's
guy, and so only thing I had got it by was unprotected safe sex. That's how I acquired it.
okay.
And and so after doing that and going back to a familiar place, what took me back to a very very dark place. Um, and
Yeah.
I went back to using and drinking because that's how I coped. And then I had a young lady that was downstairs, and she kept, trying to get me, to come to sanctuary and everything, which I rededicated my life back then. And it took me around about, I want to say 3 years. So this around about 2013. That's when, I decided, okay, it's time to get myself together. And somebody else there needs to hear my story, or somebody else there is going to go through the same thing that I'm going through, and they need to know how to deal. And when I decided to come out and say, hey, it's me too, and being transparent, uh, that's when I found my voice, actually, because, I didn't have that
Wonderful.
voice. And that's when I
Through the
found my
pain,
voice
through
and
the pain
actually
comes,
who I am and got myself
through
cleaned
the
up. I've
pain.
been clean.
What I'm saying is through the pain comes your purpose. You dealt with being
Right,
an addict on crack cocaine, which is a vicious way
right.
to, that's real tough. It's not like popping
Yeah,
a Tylenol. And the other thing is you could have gotten HIV from a partner perhaps because you were on the streets. And when you're on crack like that, you may not even remember what you're doing.
right.
But all
Sometimes
of a
you don't.
sudden
Sometimes it's like a space out,
no, and it's a terrible epidemic, just that in itself, being on the streets and living on the streets. And it's a sad part of it. The other thing is, though, so in 2010, but you make a big change in your life and you transition, you find out you're positive, and only because you had a bellyache and you just didn't feel right, but you didn't really have any other big symptoms.
No, no symptoms, none at all.
Did they think
And
it was
feeling so
HIV?
scared.
Did they think it
Excuse
was
me.
HIV, or the doctors weren't looking for that?
They weren't supposed to actually because I had fibroids and they were acting
Okay.
up.
All right.
And he was not supposed to test me at the time for that because I did not ask to be tested or anything like
Yeah.
that. He was just supposed to just do what he was supposed to do. Yeah.
So
And
when you
people
finally
asked me
got
to this day. I apologize.
when you when you finally found out, though, what was your first? Did you have your children then? Didn't you? Or you didn't have your children then?
I'm here all by myself.
Okay. All right. So, how did you react when you first got the diagnosis in 2010?
I can't be pressed.
How did you depressed?
I
Did
can't
you
very
go in for?
depressed.
Did you go into any kind of
I
support groups or reach out?
not then I didn't.
Yeah.
I
But
not
then
until 3 years later.
what was the light bulb that went off when you realized you had a story to tell? There were organizations or groups out there that you wanted to get involved with to tell your story and say to people, you're not alone.
3 years later, which would make it around about 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I found
And how did
out.
that
Okay.
start?
Yeah.
And what did you start to do then?
Um, First was to clean myself up because I couldn't help anybody if I was, still using it out. Um, After that, we had two organizations here that I joined I'm a care partner with them. Uh, and from there, that's when they had like you can volunteer, to speak and this and that and another. And that's exactly where I found my voice to speak.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So you
and
would,
so
so your journey takes you from Ohio and then living on the streets though, and all the crack and the addictions and the life that you were living. And then
mhm,
2010 to 2013, your world changes again when you get clean from crack. You clean up yourself, you find out that you're HIV positive, and you decide to do something with your life for other people to have purpose.
yes.
Okay, we're good now with that. Now tell me how that started, how you got your children. Now we go into the other part of your life.
Okay. And the other part is about after I found my voice and everything, and going out and talking to people, I decided, well, I started well, not me, but God helped me start a nonprofit organization. And we help those acquire the HIV/AIDS virus um, as a referral. And now I also have an LLC, which we go into the homes now to take care of people that are living with now. And also, I sit on different boards. They had like different boards, like the NAACP, IMA, and these boards don't have the faces of the LGBTQ question mark community. And I sit on these boards because I am the face of
Mm-hmm.
everyone that you see in this
Mm-hmm.
community. And it's not, you can't be talking about this, and not us. So you
Yeah.
bring us, I bring us to the
Did you?
table. We are not on the menu.
And so, how did your children come into the picture? Tina's got her act together. Tina's involved with organizations. She's feeling really good about herself. How the two children get in there?
Um, in 2010, I brought them in and just told them in a stupor mind of what I had and what I was going through. And they're wonderful, very, very, very wonderful kids. And that's my second chance right there as well. Is with them. That was my
I mean, you
second
didn't
chance.
birth you adopted them, or
No,
did
they're my
oh
natural children.
oh even with your fibroids, that's hard to have babies when you have fibroids.
Uh, yeah, but see, they're grown now.
Yeah. Well, of
Yeah,
course,
they're
but in
grown.
general, I know other women who have fibroids, and it's very hard to get
Oh
pregnant, or they
yes,
won't even. They do so much.
yes.
So, what would you say though? Did you, not only as a woman of color, and now you're dealing with HIV, and you're also in Tucson, Arizona, which I don't think is predominantly African American. Let's say, off the cuff, it's not Chicago or Detroit or New York or even,
No.
well, but in general, how did you handle that? Because I'm sure you felt some stigma. I'm sure there was some self-worth or
Yes.
self-esteem at birth. How did you handle all of that? Because that's what I want our people to know, people who watch the show, that even though you're diagnosed, you can take, no matter how bad it is, you can turn it around and you can make it better.
Right.
You can get out there and you
Right.
can become a voice. And that's how we remove the stigma. Did you feel
Right.
pressure or stigma or get your back turned on or have names called? How did that all happen, if you did?
Um. Well, I that's one of the problems that I never had. Thank God, I never had that stigma or anything. But it was probably within myself and what I thought that other people were
Okay,
probably thinking, but
right.
it was never, shown on me like that.
So
But
it was you thinking you were not worthy. It was you thinking you did something wrong. It was not people doing it. You yourself were internalizing the stigma and putting it on yourself. That is
right,
so common. That's so common, especially even back then. Some things have
yes,
gotten better over the years, but there is a stigma of HIV, and that's why people like you and this show, this is what we're going to try to do, is show every facet, hear every color, see every face, and tell every story to remove the stigma and keep HIV out there. Just went to Atlanta for something? Were,
yes, we have
or
a
tell me
it's
about
called
all your organizations. Do that. Tell me
yeah.
about your organizations in Atlanta and the award you were given and all that. You were so hyper.
Uh,
You were so crazy.
okay, but
You
this award that they give out in Atlanta, it's for women that has a or that are living with HIV, or those that identify, I can say, as women. And what they do, they recognize people that are in the community all over what they're doing, and someone has to nominate your name. And I came out. Someone nominated me in 2022. So about because you never know who people are following you on Facebook. You never know. And so I was posting up doing that, and so but then we come back and get other ladies that are in the community that are doing um care, or I mean that is doing that's doing the footwork, to help people that has acquired and also living with, um and they get nominated and they get, it's like we
you've
call it
come
like a little sorority. Uh-huh.
you've come a very long way, haven't you? May I ask how
Oh
young you
yes.
are? How old are you?
I'm actually 60. I just joined the 60 team.
60. So 60. What is there a number after the six? What is it?
No, I just joined the 60 team. Just
Oh,
the
you're a,
60.
you're a child. I'm 77 and I still have so much more to do. It's exciting because the journey never ends. So
Right.
I also want to ask you, when you speak, what would you say when you speak? What do they ask you to speak about? How many organizations have you become a member of? I mean, you listed a whole bunch of places where you've been and awards you've
Well,
gotten. Or
4, 5. I say 5 that I'm actually active. And the other one,
you
I'm
think
still
that
active, but not as active as these.
you think that's enough? Or you should join a few more groups. You think that's
That's
enough? Five?
it.
And the
But
other
I
thing,
gotta
so
keep it out there. I gotta
give
keep
me
it out there.
give me some advice also of backing up living on the streets, since we have that problem in our country so much: mental health, homelessness, people not getting the help
Mhm.
they need, and it's a very serious problem. What would be
Right.
some advice that you would give if you were in a position and had the microphone to speak to such a group, so many people who are lost and alone and living like this in our country? Are so rich, our country's so rich, and here you were, not only a woman of color and an addict, but you were on the streets living as bad as it could be. So,
Right.
what would you tell people if you had national exposure to this subject? What would you tell people?
Um, Actually, well, living out on the streets for me, it will probably be a little. It probably look a little bit different because mine was by choice.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so mine will probably look just a little bit different from someone else that is actually out there living. But I was living among them as well. But my thing for where I am at right now, I would tell them that first of you're not alone. You're not by yourself. There's plenty of us that's out here. We're going through the same thing as you are, that you're going through. And I'll also tell them that they are going to make it. And if they've acquired the HIV/AIDS virus, just to know that it is not a death sentence. It's just a roommate that has moved in. As long as you take care of yourself and to take care and take your meds, hey, you're gonna be all right, and you're gonna live and live and live, and that life is for the living. and you
You're
gonna
so
live on.
funny. You're so funny. You said it's just a roommate that moved in. That's wonderful. Are you on medications? Any meds?
Yes,
What are you
I am.
taking? What do you
I'm
take?
taking Trina, Travalica, just one a day,
Yeah. Is that a once a day or a shot?
just once a day, a pill.
All right. Yeah, I've seen it on TV a lot.
I
How do you
started with
handle it?
three.
Are you working well with it?
Oh yeah, it hasn't given me a problem at all.
That's wonderful. And but I'm saying if you had to speak to the homeless issue, because there's HIV on the streets, if someone's
Oh
living
yeah, oh
with a
yeah.
a drug crisis in their life, or they're on the
Mhm.
streets for whatever reason, and I'll ask you why you chose it. But the point is, what would you just say specifically to that group of to the politicians, to the people about the homeless issue that you experienced?
About the homeless, is that it's so much that our country it can do. We have too many buildings and too many vacancies that there's no one that should be living on the streets at all.
Right, right,
Um, and then you have to realize that there's some of us that they're on medication. Okay, they have to have somewhere where they're safe, where they can put
right.
their medication, where they can take a shower, where they can eat, where they can feel comfortable among their own. And
Miss Tina, do you think though that the issue of not just HIV, but a lot of times the homeless issue, just these big issues, the addiction, what you went through, do you think though that it is a big thing about self-esteem though, self-worth, self-respect, and
oh
sometimes
yeah,
once you're given that opportunity to tell your story, to be treated like you have value,
right,
you were birthed out, you're breathing, you still exist, you have a choice,
right.
don't you think though that these type of issues, they compound themselves on people where sometimes you're so down you really don't feel that there's any. I mean, you're
Right.
dealing with drugs, you're homeless, then you're HIV positive. And I think to myself, wow, you have a triple thing going on. And yet look at you now, these years later, getting an award for being a woman of the year with socializing with HIV organizations and being Queen Tina for a day or two a year.
Yes, yes,
You're wearing your
yeah.
crown on your head right now. Yeah, but and how and were the women at this conference, were they a mixed color, African American, Hispanic,
Um,
white
it's mainly for it's for people of color.
people
Yes,
of color?
yeah.
Did you know these
Um,
women? Did you know these
they
women
can be
before?
black, Latino, anything Indonesia, anything that they would consider uh black race, or I don't know how really to describe that, but for women of color that looks like me or whatever, something like that, I can say.
And are you working? What is the name of your organization if people can find you? What is your name on it?
The name of my organization, I have two. One is not.
All
I'm
right,
not.
then say them slow. Say them slowly because I want to write them down too. What are they?
Okay. Okay. The first one is I'm not
Uh,
what
I'm not what?
it. I'm not what it says I am.
Oh, I'm not what it says I am. And is that on
Uh huh.
Facebook and social media platforms?
Um, it's on a social media. Just a little bit of the Facebook because we're trying to revamp, and but I do have a website.
What? Let me have the website.
The website is www dot
Yeah.
it says I am
It says I am.com.
.org.
It
Uh-huh.
says I am.org. That's
Right.
wonderful. So you're the president and CEO, a woman who was a crack addict, homeless. HIV positive, made a big year, and in the middle of all this, all these years later, 10 years later, gets the award and is on all these organizations and is at the best time in her 60 years on the planet. And you tell me that's not a story? That's the story. You made it. You are making it. You're making a difference. This show, when it airs on Monday nights, we air on Monday nights from 7 to 8. When this story airs, stay put. You're moving around. Stay with me. Stay in one place right now. This is so good. When our shows air at 7 o'clock on Monday night, 7 to 8, when people hear stories like this, it makes them not only want to get involved, it makes them want to call our show to tell their story, but it gets visibility to you. And that's what we want to do. It says it's sayim.org, right? That's what it says. It's sayim.org. We will have all this information for when the show airs. We'll have all your Bible, we'll have everything down on there. So that's what we want. But again, I want to sum up some things, though, that go back a little bit. Can you hear me? Tina, can you hear me now? All right, Tina's not being able to hear me. Tina, click your mic or check yourself out there and see what's going on, because I'm not getting anything from you. All right. Well, anyway, what I wanted to ask Tina was, again, given is that HIV is not a death sentence. That taking medication, she said something that was so funny. She said HIV is just a roommate that moved in. And as long as you take care of yourself, it's like paying the rent. We're going to be okay. Are you with me now? You're with me now? Can you speak out? Talk to me. Hello? All right, we're having an audio issue. But that's what she said. She said, again, it's just a roommate that moved in. And you just go with it. She's so motivational, inspirational. Her story's so powerful. And, through it all, no matter what life brings you and gives you, you can make changes. You have a choice. You don't have to stay where you are. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Miss Tina Krug from Tucson, Arizona, for being a guest on Positively Positive, where stories like hers make such a difference. Thank you, Tina, for so much information, your insight, your passion, your caring. It's all part of what we're trying to do at Positively Positive. Tina found me on Facebook. I popped up and we kept in touch. And there she was tonight on our show with a powerful story. And her information will be put on the screen and you'll be able to contact her. But I just want to say thank you again, Miss Tina Krug. And also, don't give up, don't stop. And if you have a story, no matter what it involves, we want to hear it. Your story has value, and it doesn't matter what you think, how little it may be, or how much it may be. It's still your story. And for us, that's what this show was going to be all about and is all about. It's about the Tina Krugs of this world. People are going to call in from all over the country. And there will be some technical issues or some glitches. And that's just the way it works in cyberspace. I'm not involved in cyberspace. I just know how to talk and interview people. And there was probably so much more I could have asked her. But I wanted to really get the interview in concise. No, we had that time. And if Miss Tina's back, I want to say thank you again, Tina from Tucson, for your incredible interview and for your story. And we hope to follow up with you at some point and let us know how you're doing. And if you have any friends or people in these organizations, you are a very valuable part of this right now because you know an awful lot of people in the HIV community. You could put a Facebook post out or a post on everything stating There's a show in West Palm Beach, Florida, called Positively Positive. And this woman, Susan Mintz, SusanMintz.com, and at Campbell Health Solutions, yeah, Campbell Health Solutions, and SusanMintz.com, where if you have a story you want to tell, if we want to hear it and interview you, you probably have an amazing amount of people who would love to be heard. And I'd like you to definitely spread the word that this show is doing just that. Different faces of HIV, different facets of HIV, different, we're going to have a pastor or a dentist, a doctor. We can all, though, get the clinicals. I'm looking more for the personals. Someone like you who came through all your issues, and now here you are at 60 at the best time of your life. That's where I feel I am. I've been a widow 30 years, never remarried, didn't want to, set my goals, have a mission, have my story made into a series, streaming or a major movie, and had people like you witnessing that we did this as we started with stories. We never stopped. I told my story in a book. Now we tell it on a web we tell it on a show. You have a story, and I want you to please tell all your Tina friends that they have to just contact Campbell Health Solutions or me, and then we can send them the link, and then they can be a part of our show. And again, to reach you, it would be I am not what I am.
I'm not what it says I am.
It's not what.
Yeah,
say it. I'm not what it says I am.
I'm not what it says I am.
Oh, I'm not what it says I am. And
you're on
Facebook. You're on Facebook. But the other thing is your website is itsaysim.org.
Correct.
Those would be the two best places to reach you.
Like they can go on my Facebook page. I go by Tina Renee.
That's what I want. Your face.
Well.
Let me have your Facebook.
Yeah,
your Facebook. Page. That's how I would. Tina.
Yeah, Tina. Yeah, they just have to go to Tina Renee.
RENEE.
Yes.
Tina RENEE. At Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's my Facebook, and that also will be my Instagram.
That's great. So it's Tina Renee RENEE on Facebook or Instagram. Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. But I want you to be a little. What is it? What?
And tell them TikTok too.
I think you and I will probably hook up at some point in the future for sure. I'm just so glad we got to speak. And there's always technical glitches, and I can blame every issue on technology now. I'm great at this. It's a technology issue, you know. Just give me a microphone, a camera. Let me get all dolled up and pretend crazy loony character from Boca Raton who now has her own talk show. Let me just be crazy and give me the microphone. I don't have to worry about technology. That's not my job. How many, that's right. That's not your job, technology. No, women. We need men for some things, don't we? We need men for some
kids.
things.
Look, yeah. Go kids. Hey kids. Hey kids. How you do this?
Where do your children live?
My son lives in Columbus, Ohio, and my daughter lives in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, and how old are they?
Let me see here. One would be like, I want to say 34. On November the 3rd, and the other one will probably be 30. But I have to do the math because I forget how old they are now. So I say one was born in 89, one was born in 87.
All right, I want you to just do me a favor. Just stay still and speak into the mic as loud as you can. Are they proud of their mother and their grandmother?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Do
they
they?
are. Yeah, they're very proud of their mother now. Like I said, we always get a second chance, and some of us do not get second chances.
No. And how are they doing? Are they in good shape? They're taking care of themselves?
Oh yeah, they're well. My daughter has four kid children, and my son has two, and they gave me six grandbabies, and they're all doing wonderful.
Now, you probably look in the mirror and look back at yourself sometimes and think, how did I get to where I am today? Do you ever really think about writing a book? Because I teach writing, and writing is my storytelling. I tell stories by speaking and writing. That's my thing, is storytelling. Have you ever thought of writing a book?
Well, I have, and yeah, it's called A to Z. It happened to me and back again. And
Uh,
I I wrote it, but I haven't did anything with it. I just put it
well,
up.
why don't you start tonight thinking about all the things you told me, and that you have a story to tell. And what better way than to start documenting it and putting it in a book, even if you don't publish, to put your life, like
Yeah.
I made notes. I take notes on people because I want to be able to reflect back on who this person was, what they came through, where they're going, what they said. I'm a writer by nature. There's a pen in my hand. When I'm writing your information down. And I say, Tina, you have such an amazing story. Why don't you write it out? Even if you journal it out a little bit every day, you have passion in you. You have
Thank
a
you.
place in your heart for people that's so big that you could fill up several, several books. But why don't you, as a favor to me, and I'm very selfish and spoiled, I ask God for a lot, and He's been wonderful. I'm asking you to start writing your book tonight or tomorrow
Yeah.
morning. Get
Well,
up and
actually,
even
I
start with
have.
a few.
I have. So I have. I finished it and everything. It's been put up for a while in a vanilla envelope. I have just did
You can
nothing with
self.
it.
I have a wonderful publisher. If you ever get around to publishing, I have a wonderful
Okay.
publisher who would work with you in a heartbeat. And she's
Okay.
here in Florida. And I've been with her
And
since
I've been with her
2000.
since 2000.
I've been with her since
I've been with her since
2016.
2016.
She's
She's
wonderful.
wonderful.
So anyway, I think we're having another little glitch, which is fine. I think we got most of this in, and I'm thrilled. Oh, I see my name. That's always a good sign. And she was wonderful. She's the kind of guest we want: open, honest, truthful, no holes barred, getting into the nitty gritty. And what I want to do is I get into the basics, and then I would go into the real guts of it. That's why I wanted her to tell me where she was from, when she got positive, all the things that she was doing, and then where she's come. And then I back up and kind of pick it apart. So I make sure we still have the nuts and bolt of your story. But it's just a wonderful time to remove the stigma of HIV, to tell your story, and we want to hear it. So I'm just going to say I want to thank Richarda Jackson and Campbell Health Solutions for giving me the chance to see Positively Positive come forth. And there are going to be a lot of people we're interviewing. It's going to be an amazing, as I said, we um, will be showing, our show airs on Monday nights from 7 to 8. And we're on several streaming channels, Facebook, LinkedIn. Um, Richard knows exactly what he's doing. I go along with it, and I'm pretty good. But the it's 7 to 8, and the interviews, I can hardly wait to watch each one, because I learn so much more about the people as I'm interviewing them. I think it also helps me know more about me. Whenever you get personal with someone and you become, let's say, approachable is a good word, approachable, vulnerable, you accessible, I think then you become a real figure. You don't have that wall around you. And I think that's what books do. I think it's what coming forth with HIV does, that you become a person who has something to contribute, and you have value, and you become approachable. I know many times the way I would talk over the decades and look, I've changed that, every few years I get downloaded a new look. But what's happened over the years since Jeff's passing in 94, and I would suggest you get both my books, they are brilliant. People read, there are 24 chapters in each book. They are written as issue story. Every chapter is an issue, has a story in itself, as well as my life. They're powerful. But when you become approachable, as I said, a lot of people over the years have never been able to approach me. They thought I was very hard or standoffish or aloof. And I would say to them, I'm probably the easiest person in the world to get in touch with, because I am crazy. I am a little outrageous. I don't have any walls around me. I've lived a double life forever. What is their big deal? It's called one day at a time. Life is incredible. Enjoy it, go with it, go up and down with it, ride it out, because you do not know who's at the other end of your journey. And I just think it's a marvelous opportunity in these dark times we're living in, to shed light. You're light. You have light that you bring forth every time you smile. You give a nice word. You're kind. That's what this show's about also. We want people to feel that they are a part of something bigger than themselves, that they are a real, live, breathing person. And it's just such a wonderful experience to be able to do this. And you'll see that there are different credits at the bottom of the screen, and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn, and it's Monday nights at 7:00. But I think that's what's been one of the most exciting things. I miss my husband terribly, and I always will. And I thank God that I was young enough. I was 48 when he passed, so I was young enough to really go on. And I was left with the resources to be able to volunteer at hospice, where it helped me so much to not only get another book out, but I met incredible people that I wrote their stories about. Hospice is a wonderful organization. And then I was able to have the time to take care of my parents. And then I had the time to get involved with my church. And then I had the time to be able to pursue my writing career and publish my books. And then look what happened. Out of a podcast came a show. But the show is all about HIV and positively positive. And that's what we're always going to be. So, who's ever watching, wherever you're watching from, please get in touch with us. We want to hear from you. I think my time might be about up, but I want to make sure I thank my guest again and said that this is been a wonderful night, a wonderful opportunity. And the music is playing. That's the song. That's what I've been waiting for, to wrap it up. I've been wrapping it up for about 2 minutes, but it's wonderful. And I thank you so much for watching. We want your comments. Please comment. We love comments. We take criticism, not well, but we'll take it. And just tell your friends that we're doing something that nobody else in this whole country is doing. Perhaps the world finds a show like this. You find it and you let us know. We'll invite them onto our show. God bless you all, and we'll see you again for another recording of Positively Positive with your host, Susan Mintz. SusanMintz.com, all dressed up, and her place to go into another room. Laugh more. People need to laugh more.